Namaskar. Very warm welcome to all the viewers, teachers, teacher educators in this very special live interaction of CIT NCERT. I am Renu Bhatt with you all and you are watching us live on eVidya channels, PMeVIDYA channels from class number 1 to 12, and apart from these channels you are with us on our YouTube channels as well, that is NCERT Official and NCERT PMeVIDYA class number 1 to 12, and this is our special session for teaching learning interventions for inclusive classrooms, where we try to enhance our knowledge towards inclusive classroom sessions. And this is our special session, as I just told you, and the topic that we are going to discuss today in this specific session is differentiated instructions in classroom. So my dear viewers, what is this differentiated instructions and how these instructions are important to all the teachers and teacher educators, and what are the strategies behind all those things. We have joined by our experts so that she can give you knowledge about all those things. So without any further delay, let's quickly meet her. You are Miss Malika Ganapati, you are consultant educator. Very warm welcome, ma'am.
Hello. Hi, Renu.
Hello, ma'am. And as you can see, dear viewers, I am accompanied by our sign language interpreter. So let's meet her. She is Miss Anu Malik. Anu, very warm welcome. And dear learners and viewers and teacher educators, if you have any query or you want to know more about all those instructions and about the strategies, or you want to share your experience, you can reach out to us through our various mediums. We want you to call us on our telephone number, that is 8800 440 559. Either you can drop a mail as well. Our email address is dth.classfirst@cit.nic.in, and we have so many emails for your feedback. You can use any of them. You can either use 1, 2 till 12th. And dear learners and viewers, in case you have joined us through our YouTube channels, then you have to go to the live chat box and then only you can drop your comment out there. Our expert will be more than happy to answer all your queries and doubts if you have any. So we want you to participate in this live interaction in huge numbers. So let's quickly start this session. And Malika ma'am, at the very beginning of this session, I wanted to know more about differentiated instructions. What do we mean by these instructions, and how important is it to practice differentiated instructions in classrooms, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you, Renu. I would start with the environment. What should a differentiated classroom look like? It's a classroom which has varied approaches to learning, appealing to a range of interests and content with various degrees of complexity. You don't have a standardized content for everybody. So you have content which differs in complexity, which suits the interest of many children, and it also has varied approaches to learning. When you take the students part of it, it is an environment which is child-centric, and where the students take responsibility for learning, and it's not a competitive environment. They compete with themselves. They have a personalized goal and they work towards the personalized goal. As far as the teachers are concerned, because she's an integral part of the classroom, right? So the teachers are concerned, she's like you could say a diagnostician, where she sees the pulse of the child, understands the proficiency level of the child, and she adapts the instruction to suit the needs of this proficiency level, like giving a very specific prescription, okay, to every child. So this is a classroom which believes that every child matters, yeah, and to really understand whether differentiated instruction is necessary, we'll go a little back into the history of differentiation. Even if you look into the early 19th or mid 19th century, you had psychologists like Piaget, Vygotsky, educators like Maria Montessori, who strongly believed that you have to work based on the child's interest and the child's pace and his readiness level. They all believe that it has to be personalized. And also, if you take Indian educators and philosophers like Aurobindo or your J. Krishnamurti or Tagore, Gandhi, all of them believed in personalized education. If you go back to a Gurukul system, you would see that again, goals were very personalized based on the life goals of the children and their potentials, yes, and their skills and strengths. So this is not something new. I think time immemorial, we have been practicing differentiation in classrooms. What happened a little later is the numbers increased, population increased. So we had to reach out to a mass, around 30 to 50 students in a classroom. Then we forgot that differentiation was a little difficult then to think about it. And so we said, let's be standardized. So the standardized curriculum came then. But what happens in the standardized curriculum is 20% of the children who have already mastered the curriculum, they are not challenged in the classrooms and they feel bored. And this can lead to behavior issues and they lose interest in the processes of the classroom and the academics also. Another 20 to 30%, I would say, who has differential needs, like maybe perceptual needs, it could be emotional needs, it could be cognitive needs. So whatever the needs are, they are unable to benefit from the generalized process of the classroom. So almost 40 to 50% of the students don't learn in the classroom. And I think we really have to think about it and see that every child learns. It's the right of every child to learn. So many years of foundational education cannot go waste. So now we have started talking a lot about differentiated instruction and education, but I think there's a long way to go. But it is very crucial so that every child matters in a classroom. And this should be the norm of a classroom. This is not something different from a class. This is how classes should function every minute of the process or day.
Right. Right. So,
yeah. Does it answer your question?
Yes, and it's really very interesting to know that it's an ancient way, right? And all those instructions focus about only students. It's child centric.
Yes.
Ma'am, here I wanted to know about the teachers. How do teachers practice differentiated instructions in class, ma'am? What could be the first step?
I've been working with teachers for quite a few decades. And one of the things I find is when I go and tell them about the process and how differentiation should be done, one group of teachers, they get overwhelmed. They feel, oh, this is so difficult, too much of work to be done. So and they give up. They give up very easily and they go back to their normal ways. They say it's tough, it's not easy. We have to complete the curriculum. We have to ensure that they are ready for the examination. So one group. Another group of teachers are really passionate. They say, oh, I'm going to try this out. We really want to try it. But they try to do it everything at one go. They go so fast. After some time, they get a little frustrated and they feel, oh, it's not working. Maybe I didn't do it right. So I feel the first step is to understand that I have to go slow but steady. It's something very new for us to learn because we have not experienced it. We have never been in a classroom which was differentiated. So I think this is a concept for us to experience and learn. So teachers first have to say, let me go slow, but in a steady way. And I think consultants or school administration also should consider and do it at a varied pace for the teachers. So they have to look at the potential and the strengths of the teachers and adapt and see how they can work one step higher from wherever they are. Let's start about the first step. What should they do? I would say the first step is the belief with strong conviction that every child can learn. So much of special educational inputs we have got, even teachers, that sometimes they believe, oh, I'm not a professional. I don't think I can reach out to a child with ADHD, child with autism, child with LD. They need professional special educators. Actually, teachers have to believe in their skill and strengths to reach out to a varied mass of students. No two children are alike in a classroom. They're still reaching out to 30 children so effectively. So what if 2 more children come in with slightly different needs? So I think teachers have to believe in their potential and believe in the child's potential. I think that's the first thing. And let's see how they can start off. The first thing the teachers have to learn is this: assessments and instructions are inseparable. What teachers normally we do assessments in our present day, though we are trying to work a lot on it. Assessment is for grading. Grading and telling this is how much the student has mastered this content. The teacher's role finishes there. But here, the assessments or the FAs we do in the classroom are very important and they should lead to changes in the instruction following the assessment. I think assessments are to tell you the proficiency level of each student in your classroom, mastery level of each student in your classroom, and reaching out to them effectively. So one of the things they do FAs we do FAs at various stages, right? One is before we start a concept, we do an FA to find out what is the requisites are and what are the level of the student, so that I can adapt my content to suit the proficiency level of the whole class. And the second one, towards the end of the unit, we do to find out how much have the children mastered this particular concept or skill, whatever the subject may be. Then I have to change my instructions to ensure that all learners master the core concepts or skills. That is very important. I will give you two examples here. Can you move on to the next slide? I think, so I'm going to give you two examples here. There are generally students are broken down. After you do an assessment, you realize that there are three groups, right? One is a group which is an emerging group, which has a lot of misconceptions, gaps in their learning. And so they need more personal attention, personal instruction, a lot of practice and structured curriculum with a lot of visual graphic organizers and so on. Then we have the meeting group for which our lesson is planned. And then we have another group of children who have mastered the concept. And for them, we have to give a higher level of work, like totally open-ended, complex, with advanced reading material. I'll give you an example from the primary class for this and from the middle class too. Both are, one is pre and post. Here, this is class 4. The teacher was trying to teach the children about harmful insects because they are aware of insects which are harmful in their environment. Teacher decided, I would not teach the lesson, but I'm going to check out how much my child knows. And so what she did was, the weekend homework, she said, go and think about all the harmful insects in your environment. Think of 2 or 3, observe them and come back. And then when they came to the class on Monday, she took them to the lab. In the lab, there were jars of harmful insects, which are very common, which the children are familiar with. Around 8 insects were there. She said, choose 2 of these insects, look at it, observe how the parts are, and try to draw these insects. And children drew. They chose 2, they drew, and they came back to class. She put them into groups, and she gave them some reading material. She said, whatever you have drawn, try to name the parts. And she said, this reading material for each child in the group she gave. And she said, you all read this material. Choose the insect which you have chosen. That particular insect, read about its harmful effects and how you can deal with it. So children started reading their own cards, and then they had a group discussion. And there were books also which they can refer to they want to read more. Some of the children finished faster, they can read. And they can also read out to a child who's struggling in reading. So all children are now aware. They have discussed about all these harmful insects. And then the teacher said, let me give you a simple worksheet where you try to fill in the worksheet to tell me how much you know about these insects. She gave them a simple worksheet and she ended that session that day. And the next day she came prepared, looking at all the worksheets. She had corrected the worksheets and she came back to class and she realized how much children know, which are the groups of kids who really know a lot. They've done it very well. One group of kids who still have gaps, and there is another group who need a little bit more of reinforcement. So she had planned 3 level activities. Now the groups became homogeneous group. Initially it was heterogeneous, a variety of children. Here it became homogeneous. For the children who need to be challenged, she said, okay, now I want you to create an awareness campaign, either in school or the community. You can decide. Sit as a group and decide how are you going to create this awareness campaign, especially focusing on hygiene in your environment to prevent these harmful insects. And she left them as a group. It was a project for them. The other meeting group, she gave them a lot of questions to look, answers, and a little bit more of reading materials so that they can master whatever they have learned. And for the emerging group, she personally attended to them, sat with them, cleared all their doubts, reinforced certain concepts, and gave them a graphic organizer, more like a mind map to get a holistic view of what they are learning and learn keywords to express whatever they have learned. So actually, in 2 to 3 sessions, she has finished the whole class. She didn't touch the textbook. She didn't go to the board. Children learned on their own. That is a differentiated classroom. One example of a geography lesson for 9th standard student. She was doing the political division of India. When she called the students said, "Oh, I know all the political divisions." Teachers also felt, "Oh, I think they already know. They are in class 9 and they've done it so many times." So she gave them a very brief quiz sort of thing, individually, where she could assess the children's learning. And she found almost 60 to 70% of the class had a lot of doubts. The knowledge was very shallow. In fact, the students were also surprised. They said, "Ma'am, we don't know quite a lot about this topic." Then she realized, "Oh, I have to adapt how I'm going to do this topic." She decided to take the whole class to the computer lab, and she split them into groups of 5. And she basically, every station, 4 or 5 computers, each one was a station. Each group, she split the whole political map into 6 regions, and each one had 1 region. So they can complete that region and go on to the next region. Finish all the 6 regions in a block period. And she gave them a worksheet to refer to and note down important points, like a graphic organizer. To memorize, she made them focus on the boundaries. The organizer had what the boundaries were, which are the states which shared the boundaries, what was the coastal states. So these are the pointers in the graphic organizer. So children has to observe and write it down. And they did one part at a time, and eventually they came back and the whole class discussed about the political division of India. And they were so focused, so engaged. I didn't see one child who was distracted. There was no child who was moving around, distracted, not focusing, and not participating. And this is how she adapted the whole instructions once she realized what the children know. So generally we go into a classroom, we plan the lesson already and we go. And our assessment, FA, prior assessment is a group assessment where every child answers, and we quickly shift to the lesson. So before that, I think it is good to assess the child, and based on the understanding of what they know. We saw in the insect class, the teacher skipped teaching because she felt the children knew a lot. Here, she realized that they didn't know a lot, so she had to basically, create chunks of learning and bring in a visual environment, and also give a graphic organizer for memorizing and learning. So your instruction should be based on your FA, and deciding, depending upon the mastery level of the concept, you have to reach out to the children. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am. Very much clear, ma'am. And thank you so very much for your very interesting examples as well. So, ma'am, till now we have learned a lot about differentiated instructions, right? Right now, we want you to explain us more about the strategies part, ma'am.
Okay. As far as lesson planning and teaching, creating a range of activities for teaching, I think our teachers are already there. I see exciting activities happening in the class. Only thing they have to look is that these activities are connected and they all relate to the concept. That is one thing teachers have to focus on. And another thing which I see teachers miss is they teach and then allow the children to experience various activities which will reinforce their teaching. I would prefer if the children are allowed to explore activities, experience, and then come for discussion with the teacher to consolidate their understanding. Like a chemistry teacher in middle school, she wanted to teach some different types of chemical reactions or whatever. So she had planned, she took the children to the lab in the beginning, gave them clear instructions on what are the various tests they have to do. Instructions were there, children performed, and she asked them to observe and see what happened and note down their interpretations of what they observed based on their prior knowledge. And then they came to the classroom, and then they discussed about what are the different types of chemical reaction. Children here were not just listening to the teacher. The teacher talk time was very less, and children participated a lot more. And they could actually give the answers and understand better because they have experienced and explored it. So I think the whole learning if it has to be child-centric and differentiated, has to start with experience and exploration. Start in a lab, start outdoors, and then come back into the classroom for further discussion. Like even in a very small class, when they're learning about different types, class 2, I think, different types of plants. Teacher tells them, these are creepers, these are trees, these are plants, and then shows them maybe a few plants or creepers, pictures or the real one, and then sends them to the garden to see what are the different types of trees there. I would prefer to send them to the garden with a very clear tabular column into observe that, see the height of the plant, whatever plant you see the height, whether it's tall, it's short, whether it has a thick woody trunk or it has a very gentle trunk, whether it's on the floor, whether it needs supports to stand, or it is standing on its own, rigid and tall. So let them observe the parameters which help them to classify, and then come back to the classroom and discuss and classify. Children will be able to say, oh, I saw the trees. They already know what a tree is in class 2. Tall, they have a woody thick trunk, and they stand erect and tall. Whether smaller plants are maybe herbs. So they will classify on their own. So that is what.
Here, let me tell you. Here, let me tell you that we have only 5 more minutes left for the session, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. But most important thing is I would like them to go into the evaluation process where the differentiation is there. You just see this thing where the evaluation, the teacher gave this as a tic-tac-toe. Each child could choose 2 of this and do to show how much he has mastered the concept. One could be to summarize, one could be to design based on the concept, one could be to make something, I think this is chemistry. So she wanted her to do a structural formula, classify, role play, write a music, rap song, create a play, and prepare flashcards identifying the compound that forms the molecular formula from the molecular formula. So she gave different types of activity which are creative, factual, and highly challenging, so that she could evaluate different types of children based on their mastery level. They can choose the activity and they can do it. So evaluation is where we have to bring in the variety. We're already doing in a classroom, but we have to do it in evaluation. Yeah, let's go on to the next slide. Yes, when we are talking about the norm in a classroom where children are learning in groups, okay, where children are learning in groups, we have to see that these skills, socio-cognitive skills, are promoted. Children are not over-dependent on the teacher. So very clear instructions which is written on the board or in the middle, under each group there has an instruction card, and children read the instructions. The ones who can't read, a fluent reader reads it for them so that they can be independent and they don't disturb the teacher. And the teacher can move around and observe the class. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, sorry, before that. Yeah, so that is again a very important strategy. The teacher moves around and sees how children work. She can also assess the work skills of the children. And yes, the last slide. Just 2 minutes of this. The most important task in a room, a differentiated classroom, is actually to empower students, to understand and accept. Sometimes students complain, why are you giving simple work for him, more complex work for me? Why should I do more homework than that child? So just tell them, here, assignments and homework are going to be based on your personal goals, how much you have mastered. And so it will be differentiated. So it's okay to ask help, and it is okay also to do a challenging activity. And the groups will change for every subject and every class. Once they understand that they're not going to be competitive with each other, but they're going to be competitive with themselves. They have a ceiling and they work towards the ceiling. I find children are never complain and they are very supportive to other students. So you can see here a class where many children are working independently. One child is supported, and they have a dictionary if they want to. They can come and refer. They can refer to books if it's for open-ended question. And when they want help, there are help cards which they can take, and the teacher would come and support them. So the teacher moves around to see how effectively they're working. Yeah.
So, ma'am, is it necessary to prepare student for, ma'am, differentiated instructions, ma'am?
Pardon, I didn't get you.
Do we need to prepare students as well?
Yeah, and the students, yes, definitely. Students have to be trained to do this. Otherwise, they're constantly so dependent on the teacher telling everything to them. They don't know how to function independently. So it's very crucial to prepare students to understand that this is a differentiated class and each one has to work towards their personal goals. For some, it will be more challenging. For some, it has to be more supportive, and it's okay to ask support in a classroom. I think that is something students also, and I find that happening. They're very, very naturally, they say, ma'am, I find this difficult. Can you support me with that? Can I refer to a book? Can I refer to the dictionary? But the teacher notes down that he has referred to a book, he has referred to a dictionary, so that she knows how to support him. So that observation of the teacher is very, very crucial. I hope I haven't overshot the time.
No, ma'am, that's completely fine, ma'am.
So, if I have 1 minute time, I can maybe a teacher's feedback, I can just read for a minute. Is
sure,
that
ma'am,
okay
please,
with you?
you can. Please, ma'am,
This
you
is
can.
a middle school and high school teacher. Her feedback, her reflection. I have developed a strong appreciation for the process of planning, conducting, and analyzing formative assessment. That's the key word. This systematic approach reveals unexpected insights on unknown areas of student understanding. The data obtained from analysis provides a clear indication of each student's proficiency level. The process has enabled me to prioritize support for emerging students, engaging in one-to-one interactions to boost their confidence and address their specific needs effectively. This year, I feel a sense of satisfaction in providing students with a solid foundation in political, physical, and climatic aspects of India. I believe this knowledge will serve them well in grade 10 and beyond. This was a feedback of a teacher. After she practiced it, many teachers felt the same way. They felt that they were much more effective in classrooms, and they really felt empowered and, felt good about themselves.
Indeed, ma'am. Indeed, it's a systematic approach for overall development of any student. Thank you so very much, Malika ma'am, for your valuable information and for this insightful session, ma'am. Thank you so very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I've given some questions for the teachers to probe and think at the end of the session. Last slide.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. And I wish all the teachers, very best in their endeavor. I hope we'll see more of these differentiated and inclusive classrooms.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly, ma'am. Thank you for being with us, and thank you, dear learners and viewers, for being with us throughout the session. Thank you so very much, Anu, as well. And before I wrap up this particular session, let me tell you that we have lined up with so many interesting and knowledgeable sessions for you, dear learners. And in a short while, we will be back with our another interesting and very special session, that is eJadui Pitara, and the topic that we are going to discuss today in this specific session is creativity enhancement through eJadui Pitara. At 2 p.m. we will be back with our another live interactions. This is for science 3rd standard students. The topic would be getting to know plants. At 2:30 we will be having our another session, that is for Hindi 3rd standard students. The topic would be Rasha Kashi. And at 3 p.m. EVS 4th standard students, we will be having topic the value of flowers. At 3:30 p.m. maths 4th standard students will be having their session. The topic would be how heavy, how light. Second part, at 4 o'clock we will be having our online training program. The topic would be digital initiative virtual labs. And at 5 o'clock, as usual, we will be having our very special session, and this session is for adolescent students. The topic would be adolescence, crucial yet chaotic. With all those information, dear learners and viewers, it's time for me to wrap up this session here only, but you stay tuned to PM eVidya channels. Namaskar.